Are you thinking about starting your own podcast? Don't know where to start? Well, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to start a podcast. Let me tell you about it. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and so many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. And best of all, it's free. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Just download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Hello, Candid Mamas, and welcome. You're listening to the Candid Motherhood podcast with Roxy
and Jackie,
where we tell you all about the ins and outs of motherhood.
We share our own life experiences to prepare you for the good, the bad, and the ugly that comes along with parenting.
So grab your coffee,
sit down,
get comfy,
and enjoy today's episode. Hey, Candid Mamas, welcome to another episode. This week, we are talking all about pros and cons of parenting. So we all know that we have good things about parenting, bad things about parenting, and even ugly things about parenting. So we're going to go through our list of what we find to be a con and what we find to be a good thing about parenting. And I'm sure you can all relate.
All right. So I know for me, parenting is always like an up and down roller coaster type thing. There are some lows, then you got some in betweens, and then you got some really nice highs. And those are the highs would probably say would be the good points, and the lows would probably be like the bad stuff. So one of my cons ever since, becoming a parent, and I think it was one of the hardest things I needed to get used to, especially being a first-time parent, is the lack of sleep.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to get a good night's sleep when you have a kid. Obviously, nobody gets a good night's sleep when they have a baby, but even as your kids get older, you still lose sleep. And nobody ever tells you that in the beginning. Like you never think it's going to be that bad. I never thought it was going to be that bad but going from like being in your 20s and sleeping in and having a full night's sleep, and then going from that to having a baby and never sleeping, it was like the biggest con for me, losing my sleep.
Yeah, that's definitely a con for me also. And maybe you guys can take some of these pros and cons if you don't have kids yet and really decide whether you want to have the kids based off of the pros and cons that we say. I always say that you never are truly going to be prepared for parenthood, money-wise or whatever. You just have instincts and you go with the flow. But definitely sleep is my top one, I'd say. We have kids that are getting older now. So I have an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old, and you have 9, 4 and 2, right?
Yes.
So you probably are getting less sleep than I am. But the first few years of their lives, you definitely do not get a lot of sleep. And I know that when my kids were on like a napping schedule, when they were actually napping, I would try to nap also with them so I could get some extra sleep. But really that like first year of life, you're up every 2 to 3 hours feeding them. So you are definitely sleep deprived, but also when you get older too, because like our kids aren't old enough to be alone by themselves or anything like that. So you really can't sleep in or go out by yourself. I don't know when we're ever going to get our sleep back. Maybe when we're 40 or when they move out.
There's always a reason to be up and worried about your kids or something. I am getting more sleep than I used to. I mean, my sons, they were really horrible sleepers, and they only slept like for 1 or 2 hour stretches, 3 hours on a good night. So compared to that, it's been good. now they only wake up once at night, if that. Julie's the only good sleeper that we have in this house. And the boys, they are horrible sleepers. They take forever to fall asleep. Well, Jacob's pretty good at, but Nikki takes forever to fall asleep. Like it'll be midnight sometimes and he'll still want to like be getting up out of bed. And I'm like, you gotta go to sleep.
Yeah.
Or like he'll wake up in the middle of the night and end up in my bed. And, you know, sometimes I hear him and sometimes I'm just so tired that I don't even realize until I wake up in the morning. But a pro to that for me is also that I love cuddling with them. So I love that they still need me and that they still want to like come in my bed and cuddle with us. And they still want me to like lay with them at bedtime and stuff like that. Like, even though the lack of sleep is annoying and horrible for your health and stuff, but it also like I just love that they still want you and they still need you, and that the reason why they don't want to go to sleep is because they don't want to like stop being around you. You know what I mean? Because that part's gonna end eventually, and then you're gonna miss it.
Yeah, they have some serious FOMO.
Yeah, and I know my kids like really enjoy bedtime stories, and now that they're getting a little older they like to watch like a movie or something before bed. But I know the little, when they were really little, they used to love the bedtime stories, so that was like our time together.
I don't really have much of a bedtime routine with them now. It's basically just lights out, time to go to bed, no more electronics, you know. But when they were little, it was more involved because you gotta like, I guess, soothe them a little bit to go to sleep. I feel like, you know, you want that sleep when they're a baby, you know, and as you get older, you might be able to sleep in more and more, but your body, at least for myself, wakes me up earlier and earlier the older I get. So I can't even sleep in.
Another con for me would probably be that the house never stays clean. It's constantly messy. There's toys everywhere. Even if you spent all day cleaning it, they can come in like a tornado and literally destroy it in 5 minutes.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that 100%. That is like one of my biggest pet peeves, and it drives me crazy because I have like OCD and I have a problem if I see like something that's a mess. It drives me crazy. Like, I don't know why, but these kids just want to throw everything on the floor. It doesn't even matter what it is. It's going on the floor at some point. And they don't pick it up either. Well, it's not mine. Well, it's not mine, so why do I have to pick it up? You know?
Yeah. My sons especially have this habit of dumping. I have all their toys separated by like, you know, their dinosaurs, their cars in one bin. So whatever they want to play with, they can just take the one bin out. They don't need to take all the toys out, but that doesn't even work because they still dump the entire toy box. So if they want a dinosaur, they'll dump the entire toy box of dinosaurs. And it's like, you don't need to dump the whole thing. I separated them for a reason. I don't have the patience to keep separating their toys anymore, but if it was up to me, you know, they'd be organized all the time, but
yeah,
it's not like
see,
that.
I always wanted to get one of those like toy bin racks, and I never got one, and I probably should have, because like these kids' rooms are disaster. Like, he'll take off pajamas and leave it on the floor. He takes a shower, leaves the towel on the floor, doesn't even hang it up. Same with Lacey. She's looking for her Nintendo Switch today. It somehow miraculously ended up underneath the fitted sheet of her mattress. How does that even happen? First of all,
I don't know.
and it's like things like that too. Like they once they lost the TV remote, and I lost my mind because this was like the third remote that we had gone through, and I'm like, I don't understand. I tore this whole house apart. I couldn't find this remote, and I told them I'm not buying another one until you find this one. So maybe like a few months ago I actually found it. I mean, I gave in and I bought a new remote, obviously, but I found the remote. I'm like, really? Where was this? I looked in this, it was like in the couch. I'm like, I looked in this couch. 1,000 times, tore apart this whole house. But I guess a pro to that would be like Nate and Lacey are starting to want to earn money. So we used to have like this chore list that they could do to earn money, but that just like went out the window. So Nate has some money like that because he's like not a spender. So he doesn't want to spend his money. So he saves like whatever he gets from like, holidays. But Lacey is a spender. She wants to spend it as soon as she gets it. So he got a sword the other day and he had money to buy it. So I took the money from him so he could buy it. And Lacey was like, but I don't have any money. I'm like, well, I don't know what to tell you. So she's like, can I do a job? I'm like, yeah, you can do a job. So now her job is to feed the cat. So she's going to feed the cat, and I'm not really sure how much I'm going to give her, maybe like $1 a week or something like that.
Yeah.
And Nate, he loves to help out. So that's a good thing. Like as he's getting older, he just wants me to have less stress, I guess, if you will. So like, yeah, he's like, can I do the dishes? Which that's a no for me because that I'm going to have to redo them anyways, but like today I was making their lunches and I was like, Nate, you want to help me? Like go get the juice boxes, go get whatever snacks you want. He actually cleans the litter box when I tell him to. That's like a big thing for me because I really wanted nothing to do with this cat. They convinced me to get a cat, and now the cat is like my best friend. But I'm the only one that takes care of him. I feed him, I change his litter box, I do all of that stuff. So the other day I was like, somebody needs to help me. I can't do it all myself. So Nate took over on doing the litter box. And then he'll do like other things. Like he wants to learn how to do the laundry. So, I mean, I think he's old enough to learn how to actually do that,
They're getting to that age. Julie is really interested in learning how to cook. And especially over this weekend for Mother's Day, she was wanting to feed me breakfast in bed. But she's like, Mom, I don't know what to make for you. So she's like taking notes. How do you take your coffee? Can you show me how to make coffee? So she wants to, like, every time I make coffee, she wants to make coffee for me so that way she can learn how to do it. And then one day feed me breakfast in bed. I thought that was so cute.
That is so cute. See, like when they're like little, I guess maybe forever, who knows, but they want to just like do nice things for you. At least, they want to try to make it less stressful, even though sometimes the nice thing that they do could end up being more stressful.
Nikki's learning too. He like every time he sees me like in the kitchen, he's like, Mommy, I want to help you do that. It's up to us though, like to kind of like let them though, because sometimes it's like so much easier to just do it yourself.
Yeah.
But I mean, they want to help you. You gotta let them do something.
Yeah, well, I feel like Nate gets discouraged sometimes when he wants to do something. I'm just like, just let me do it myself, just let me do it. Let me get it. Like he gets upset sometimes, Yeah.
All right. So another con that I thought about would be like the house constantly being loud. There's like never a quiet moment when you have kids.
Yes, definitely.
And another thing that goes hand in hand with that is that, especially my boys, they love to scream at the top of their lungs like someone's killing them, but for absolutely no reason. And like you're running, like something happened, and like they're like, Mom, we're just playing. And I'm like, what? Can you just play quieter? Like, why do you have to yell like that?
It's so funny you said that because Nate does that all the time. He'll just like randomly scream, and it literally drives me crazy. That's like the one thing I hate the most. And today I told him, I'm like, why do you have to scream like that? Stop screaming. And then he did it again. And I was like, I told you to stop screaming. And then he did it again. And I said, what is your problem? Why do you keep screaming? I've asked you repeatedly to stop. It's like a weird tick he can't get rid of or something, but it just drives me nuts. And it's funny too, because my neighbor, he's got a 10-year-old boy, and he said the same thing. He's like, I can't stand the screaming. So
it must be a boy thing because my son is the one who screams, and he would just like at the top of his lungs, like out of nowhere. Like, what happened? Nothing, Mom. And I'm like, why are you screaming like that? You're like making my eardrums like burst.
Yeah, Lacey doesn't scream like that.
Neither does Julie. And he's teaching my little one to scream too, because now they both like when he hears him screaming, he starts screaming too.
Oh my God. So I guess it's a boy thing.
It's gotta be.
Because like Lacey, she's not a screamer, she's a whiner.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's gotta be a boy thing. Because even like when we're together with my nieces and nephews, my nephew is not really a big screamer, but when he's with my boys, he does scream because he picks it up from them. But the girls are always quiet, so it's gotta be boys.
Bad influences.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of things he influences on my kids too, but but I guess like a pro to having a loud house is that it could be full of love and laughter, you know, when there's no screaming involved and it's laughing. It's really cute to like hear them like playing together and laughing and getting along, I would say.
Yeah, well, like the other day, they scream so much, like, you know, he screams so much or whatever, and like Lacey just whines all the time, that the other day I was like, what's going on? And they're like, what? We're laughing. And I was like, oh, you're laughing? I'm like, I thought somebody was dying in here.
I know. It's very rare, those moments, but you need to appreciate them when they come along.
Yeah, well, because half the time they don't get along, they fight, they bother each other. He's touching me, she's touching me, don't look at me. So when they're actually laughing, I'm like, oh, you know, you're having a good time? Okay, go ahead, have fun.
Also, the constant sibling arguments and quarreling, and that drives me up a freaking wall. Like, can you guys just get along for 5 minutes? They'll just fight about everything. Whatever the other person has, they want it, even though they weren't touching it or thinking about it or playing with it for weeks on end. Somebody finds it. Oh, I was looking for that. I wanted that. I had that. And I'm like, yeah, that was in the bottom of your toy box all week. You didn't care about it. Now he has it in his hand. You want it. Like, why do we have to fight about this?
Yeah, out of sight, out of mind, until you see it and you're like, oh my God, he has that. I need it. My kids are the same way. They're constantly fighting, and I'm always telling them, why do you have to fight every 2 seconds? And like I said, Nate's got a nasty attitude. So not only are they fighting, but he's like nasty to her.
Mm-hmm.
Like the other day, he pushed her like to get her out of the way. And I was like, whoa, why did you just push her? I didn't push her. I said, I saw you, bro. Like with my own eyes, you pushed her.
Yeah.
And he's like, I know. I'm like, so first of all, you lied to me. Second of all, keep your hands to yourself. That's my biggest thing. Keep your hands to yourself. And like, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's me. I don't know. But when they're with me, it's constant fighting. The second they get off that bus, it's not stop.
They say that kids always fight more around the person they feel most comfortable with. So I guess that should be like a compliment to you in a way, because they feel most comfortable.
I'm the one that's mostly around them, you know.
Yeah.
Rob's always
I know that when you send kids to other people's houses, they don't act that way. They are always on their best behavior most of the time. Like, for example, my nephew, I had him for a weekend because my sister had the baby, and he was like really good. He was like better than I expected him to be, you know. But then we sent him back home and he's like acting up and doing all this stuff and trying to get attention, but it's because, you know, they feel comfortable around mommy. They don't know how you're gonna act if, you know, they act bad in front of you. So
see, like if my kids went to your house, they'd probably be on their best behavior, only because they'd probably be shy, because like it's not like, you know. But if they're at my parents' house or if they're with Gigi, no, it's game over. They're gonna act like freaking animals.
Well, they know what they can get away with who too.
Oh, well, and grandparents never say no. So, Gigi lets them do things that I say no to,
Yeah.
I come home and I'm like, why the hell is Nate in the tree? Can you get him out of the tree, please? You know? But and then like,
well, my mom doesn't really have a problem telling my kids no. So that's good.
My
But
parents will never tell them no. They spoil them like crazy. You want to go get a toy? Let's go get a toy. You want this? Let's go get it.
like a line where like you have to draw the line somewhere because otherwise you're outnumbered and they're just going to like overrun you. So they have learned how to say no and they have learned how to stand their ground. So I am actually glad about that because kids need boundaries.
You see, I feel like my dad favors Nate the most and gives him the most, but I think it's because my dad didn't have boys.
I was just gonna say that it's probably because he only had girls and he probably like it's like the son he wished he had all his life.
Exactly. So, but I tell him too, I'm like, you can't buy something for Nate and not buy something for Lacey. That's not fair. That's not right.
Yeah.
Rather you not buy anything then.
It's funny that you grew up with you and your sister and then you had a boy first and Martin grew up him and his brother and we had a girl first. So it's the same type of thing, but like turned around and my mother-in-law spoils Julie. She's like the princess. She can't just buy her one pair of new clothes, like shoes or an outfit. She has to buy like the whole wardrobe and the same pair of shoes in all sizes or like all the shoes and then her size.
Yeah. I mean, I'm grateful that they do spoil them because, if I say like the kids need new clothes, they won't even they'll just go out and buy them new clothes, so I'm grateful in that sense that they actually like buy things that I need, without hesitation. But
I feel like Martin's parents were that way in the beginning with Julie. But now that we have 3 kids, there has to be some kind of
I mean, this past Christmas, I was like, oh my God. We went over there and the amount of presents was unbelievable. I mean, my dad's like that though. He loves to spend money. It was like that when I was a kid, we had tons of presents under the Christmas tree. So that was like always expected. I think, like you said, now that it's a boy,
he's living vicariously through his grandson.
Yeah, exactly. So like he wanted to buy him, I think it was like an ATV. And I'm like, first of all, you can't drive ATVs on Long Island. They're illegal. Second of all, no, he's
gonna kill himself.
Exactly.
My kids were fighting today at lunchtime because I made lunch, but they didn't like what I made. So I knew they weren't going to like it. So I made them something that they did like. And they're fighting because there's only one serving left and they need to fight over who gets the last serving. So I told them to split it.
Yeah.
But then my daughter's like, Nikki got the better ones. Mine are all
God.
crispy and gross. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, then he can eat them all. And that's it. Like they're fighting about who has more food. They fight about who has more drink in their cup. And I'm like, do these things really like there's more iced tea? Do you guys really need to fight about this stupid crap?
Yeah, they do that too. Like the other day, Nate wanted popcorn. I said, oh, go ahead, make popcorn. Then Lacey comes in, I want popcorn. I said, well, you're going to share it then. Well, I don't want to share it. I want my own bag. I said, well, you're not getting your own bag of popcorn. You're going to share it. And if that's a problem, you don't get any popcorn.
They act like when we give them food and drink, it's like the last of it and they're never going to see it ever again. And I'm like, there's more. Exactly. It doesn't matter who has more. If you want more when you're done, there's more.
I think it's just like the fact that they have to fight with each other and it's always a competition.
Yes, the competition part. Yes, it's always a competition. Like it's unbelievable. Like they even fight about like Julie takes her own showers now because she's older, but the boys, they fight about who gets washed first. And I'm like, what does it matter? You're both gonna get washed. Who cares who gets their hair washed first? Like, no, wash him first. No, wash her first. And I'm like,
one hand on one head,
my god,
and the other hand on the other head.
I'm like, look, you're both getting washed. I don't care.
A pro to that would be that they have siblings to play with and fight with, because if you're an only child, you know, you don't have any of that. You talk to yourself. I remember when I was in like 8th grade and like the Furbies were starting to come around. One of my teachers, he had an only child, and he said he was going to get his kid the Furby, so she had somebody to talk to and somebody would talk back to her.
That's funny. My sister used to have one of those things. They were creepy.
Very creepy.
They reminded me of the Gremlins.
Yeah, totally.
I guess a pro would also be like problem solving skills, because, you know, when you have a problem with your sibling, you need to have some type of problem solving skills to work out your problem.
Yeah, and also some,
and I guess forgiveness too, like we talked about last week.
Yeah.
You need to learn how to forgive each other.
I don't know, I feel like they're going to learn some self-defense skills also, because you know that when they get older, they're going to start to brawl with each other, and one of them's going to get punched in the face, and they're going to cry, and they're going to get upset.
Well, I really hope that's not the case. I mean, I would hope that this is just like an immaturity thing, and that by the time they get older, they're going to learn to work out their differences in another way, because I have 2 boys, so I don't want them to be fighting constantly. That's not nice.
It's funny because like anytime I'm out in public and people see the kids and they have teenage kids, they're like, oh, enjoy them while they're this age, because I have teenagers and they're a disaster. They don't want to be with me anymore, and they constantly argue and fight, and it's just like worse than it is now. You may think it's bad now, but just wait until those hormones kick in, like we were talking about in our puberty episode.
Yeah. Well, one of my pros that I have written down is that, like, these stages that they're going through aren't going to last forever. So even though we might think that some of these things are cons, we're going to be looking back and remembering these times and wish that we could go back to a time like this. So appreciate the stage that we're in, and there's always going to be a last day and a last time for everything. So we just have to like approach everything with love and kindness, and, you know, try not to like get too worked up over these cons. Although they might be cons in our lives right now, they might not be forever. We might think they're pros one day.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I don't want to always bring up like the Bible and stuff, but they talk about seasons in the Bible, and how, you know, just because it's spring doesn't mean that you're going to pack away your winter clothes and start wearing shorts and a t-shirt. You know, it's still going to be cold. So you have to just embrace what you're currently in, and eventually you'll be able to wear your shorts and your t-shirt. So, you know, you may think that it's hard now, and it may be hard to be appreciative and really stop in the moment and think of what you have. But, you know, eventually you have an empty nest. If you think about life in the grand scheme of everything, like I only spent 19 years in my parents' house before I left, and I never went back. So 19 years in your span of life is not very long. So you want to try to enjoy these years, you know, while they're with you, because it is going to fly by. I mean, I know, I can't believe that, you know, it's going to be almost 20 years that we graduated high school. So that's pretty amazing to think about, that 20 years passed by. I feel like it was just yesterday.
Yeah. And we're not talking about all these cons to like complain or anything like about our kids, but these are all things that we as parents go through that are the unpleasantries of parenting. And we know that a ton of you guys can relate to what we're going through. So we're talking about them as like fellow moms, you know, just kind of like it's almost like we're venting to each other. So we don't want it to sound like complaining per se, because like we do love, in the midst of all of our struggles and everything, like we love our kids and we love everything that we go through, and we wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah, definitely. I just think that we're just being very candid, and you know, not everything is like it is on the internet or on Instagram. Instagram versus reality.
Or on TV.
Yeah, these are not scripted shows. This is life. And this is what it's like having children. And, if you are a mother, if you are a father, you can relate to us and you understand what we're going through. But if you're not, and you're trying to become a parent, then you'll see what you have in store for you. And, we go through the same thing. So maybe parenting's not for everybody, and you decide you don't want to give up your sleep. You don't want to give up your free time. That's another, I guess, con would be the amount of free time that you have. You cannot just go out at the drop of a dime if you want to, and go on vacation, take a quick weekend with your boyfriend, you have kids. It's not like that anymore. It's either you take the kids, or it's got to be a planned out thing. Like, I can say that me and Rob have not had a night out alone or a date night in a very long time. Like 2 years ago, we went on vacation by ourselves for 4 days, and we told everybody we're going on vacation. So someone's got to watch the kids. I'm not taking them. Sorry. And we went for 4 days. It wasn't that long, so we split it up between my parents and his mother. But really, though, I can't even remember after that when we were alone. And May 20th will be our 10-year wedding anniversary. So I'm really hoping that we can have a night out alone, something, because I want to just sit at a bar and just have some drinks and relax and not feel the rush of, okay, the kids need to eat their food first. Please bring the food first. They're hungry. Feed them now, or they're going to have a breakdown. And then we need to quickly eat and get the hell out of here because this is taking too much time, So I just want to be able to really,
or even if you leave them home with a babysitter, you're worried, what time is it? I have to get back to the kids. I have to go put them to bed or this or whatever.
Well,
I totally get that.
That's the thing too, is you can go out for a night, but you only have a few hours. So it's not relaxing because you got to be well, okay, I can't have too many drinks because of this. Now we got to be back at this time.
So when my kids were, when I only had one or two, even two kids, it was so much easier to be able to leave them somewhere even overnight. My mom would watch them overnight or something like that. But now that I have three kids, no one wants to take three kids overnight on top of their own kids. You know what I mean? It's really hard to find an overnight sitter for your kids once you have more than one. Yeah. So really that's a non-existent thing.
Yeah, I wanted the kids to sleep over my parents this weekend because I have a wedding shower to go to on Saturday. And get my nails done before I went to the wedding. It would just be easier if they could sleep over, but they said no. So, and my mom's actually going to be watching the kids Friday and Saturday because I didn't realize the kids don't have school on Friday because there's some field trip going on. They're actually coming out to you to go see that play that you were going to see. Esther, I think it was.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so, but they said no, which I guess in a way that was okay because then my mom wouldn't have watched them Friday, so I could work because that would be too much to watch them from 9 a.m. Friday to 5 p.m. Saturday. That's too much for them, But so, I'm just gonna have to suck it up and I'll just get up early and drop them off around 9 and go get my nails done, go to my wedding shower, and I'm hoping to get a new tattoo this weekend too. So I'm hoping I can do that Saturday night.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So that's I guess a pro, and I guess could be a con too, is when you actually can get somebody to watch them, you do feel like your old self again, and you feel less stressed and freedom because you don't have a time frame. Everything is a time frame, especially when they're younger. I was always on point with they need to eat at this time. He didn't eat. It's been 3 hours. He's got to get a bottle wherever you are. You got to give them the bottle, so I guess in that sense it gets better as they get older.
Yeah, I know for us, like even going out with the kids, it's like a production. And the more kids you add on, like the more of a production it is. Not only getting out the door, but even like once you get there, it's like again with the sibling rivalry and the fighting constantly, that doesn't stop just because you're going out to eat. So you're like embarrassed by that sometimes, and then you order them food, they don't want to eat it, so it stresses you out because then you have to go home and still make them food. So it's like, and you waste the money buying them food that they're not going to eat. So it's like, why am I doing all this,
I agree. I think I have another con that drives me crazy. Whenever we are in a store, doesn't matter what store, any store, these kids act like complete animals, jumping on things, hiding in racks, sitting on like the deli case in the supermarket, touching everything. And it doesn't matter how many times I say it, they just won't stop. Like, Lacey, get off the deli counter. Why are you sitting on that? That's people's food. They want to buy that without your ass being on it. Okay. Get up. Or, why are you hiding in the racks? And they think I'm being like nasty. And like, especially in the store, I yell at them all the time. Please walk in front of me. I cannot see behind you. So it literally takes 2 seconds for somebody to snatch you and you're gone. And I won't know because you're walking behind me. I don't have eyes behind my head. But they just think like I'm being mean and like irrational. And I'm like, you don't understand. You are little. You're 8 and you're 6 and you don't have the capabilities to fight for yourself. So if I'm telling you to walk in front of me, it's because I'm trying to protect you.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that kids aren't going to understand until they're older. Especially when we're trying to protect them from certain things. I know when we're out, my kids, they're not so crazy, especially Julie, because now she's getting older and I think it embarrasses her to like act out in public. I think it just gets to a certain point where you're like, all right, well, people are looking at me, and you start feeling self-conscious. But they do fight like who's gonna ride on the back of the cart. Or I don't know why my son, Nikki, he likes to just like throw himself on the floor. I guess he gets bored when we stop and like start looking at stuff. He gets bored and he'll just like lay down on the floor. And I'm like, can you get up? Like people walk all over this floor. It's gross. Yeah. I'm like, if you want to sit, I'll put you in the cart. But no, like he's too old for the cart. He doesn't want to go in it anymore.
Well, my kids still ask me to be put in the cart. And every time I say no, I'm like, first of all, I can't even lift you up to put you in the cart.
Yeah. You're like too old. No, that's enough. And Jacob, he's young enough to be in the cart, but he doesn't want to be in the cart because his brother and sister aren't. So he wants to get out of the cart. And I let him out every once in a while, but all he does is run. And then I'm just chasing him around the store. So I'm like, no, forget that. It only takes 2 seconds, literally so fast. Like we were in Walmart and we were there with my in-laws and everything. So I was like, all right, you can walk around for a little. But like literally 2 seconds, they turn around and he's gone. Like he's down the aisle already. And like, I'm not here to chase you around. If I wanted to run, I'd go to the gym. Like not Walmart.
Exactly. But I guess like I wish though that the kids kind of could still sit in the shopping cart because then they're more contained in there. And like,
yeah. But I mean, there comes a point where they're gonna have to learn how to behave, It's like you can't be like acting like a fool everywhere we go.
I hope
that's why most of the times I don't bring Nikki shopping with me. I don't know. I think it's because he's a boy. He hates going shopping. I mean, some boys do like shopping, but he doesn't.
I think like my kids are just used to it now because I'm like, Rob's always working. So what am I going to do? I can't leave them home alone. And, like I'm working during the day and I work until they get home from school. So when am I supposed to go run like an errand that I need to run? Like I can't just go.
Right.
I could go during the day, but like then I don't get as much money,
Right. Another con that I have is repeating myself 1,000 times and sounding like a broken record, because there are some certain things that I feel like I can just record myself and like a soundboard, and then I can just press that button because I say it so often. I like, stop fighting, stop hitting each other, like stop fighting is one of my main ones. Stop yelling, that's another one. Go to bed, I say that at least 1,000 times a day. Another big one, which it's not anymore because I put the table away, but I had the homeschool table, and the boys, they would climb up on the chairs and climb onto the table and jump off of the table onto a beanbag. And I found myself saying, get off the table 100 million times a day.
It's like really like a zoo, you know, when you have kids just run around rampant. My thing that I say all the time is, why is your stuff on the floor? Pick it up. Why is it on the floor? Why is it on the floor? Like, how many times do I have to tell you to pick it up? Get it off the floor.
Yes. Doesn't matter what really we say. It's just the fact that we have to say it over and over and over and over and over before someone listens.
You know, and like I used to do this stuff to my parents. So I like can feel their pain now. Like whenever I would come home from school, my mom, I would just like throw my backpack on the kitchen counter or whatever I had on the kitchen counter. My mom was like, put your backpack in your room, get it off the counter. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, you do it. And now I'm like the same. I'm like, oh my God, I'm turning into my mother.
I know, I catch myself saying some things too, and I'm like, whoa, that sounds really familiar.
But you know, again, like we love our children and we wouldn't change it for the world. They're just annoying little people, but we do love them. They are little sweethearts. Like, you know, we Mother's Day just passed, and like Lacey made me the cutest card, and she can write now and read a little bit. So she made me the cutest card at school. Nate made me like a little bouquet out of flowers. And it's like those type of gifts and stuff that really make you appreciate having kids, because it comes from the heart. And
yeah,
you know,
it is really cute. Julie made me a card too, and she can read and write and everything, and it was so cute. And she went out with us to the store, and she was like, Mom, what do you really need? What do you really need? So we're like at Home Goods looking around, and I was like, you know, I really need a jewelry box. So she went around the store and found a jewelry box that was in her price range. She had like $16 on her, so she found one that was like $15, and she bought it with her own money. I thought it was so cute. She wrapped it up herself. Yeah.
See, that's cute. And like, I feel like things like that is like what makes being a parent special. You know, not everybody can have kids, or not everybody, you know, gets to keep their kids. You know, some people have miscarriages or unfortunate things that happen, and you don't get to have these moments. And they're innocent little kids. They do these things not because they have money or not because it's a materialistic item you want. It's just like from their heart. They really, as much as you yell at them and they annoy you and things happen, they really do love you. You're their mom. You're their only mom. So you know, they love you unconditionally no matter what. And like we were talking about in our mom guilt episode, I feel guilty about a lot of the things I do and say, but then it's like you look at your kid and he's like, I love you so much, and just comes and gives you a hug, and you're like, oh, that just like justifies like my feeling towards it, you know?
Your kids don't see your failures. They only see that you're their favorite person, that they love you.
And I love that kids are so affectionate. They love to give hugs and kisses and tell you they love you. And you know, Nate's a sweetheart at heart. He just like wants to be with his mommy all the time and wants love and just wants to be accepted, you know.
One of the pros that I really, really enjoy is watching them like learning and growing. Like when they're figuring out something new, it like, I love to see them like the look on their face when they actually figure out how to do that new thing, you know what I mean? Like Nikki really enjoys puzzles, and when he has a new puzzle, like he doesn't know, you know, he memorizes them after a while, but when they're new, you know, I love like watching him figure it out and try the pieces and figure out where it goes. He's so good at them, but like he's so proud of himself when he's done. I think it's so cute when he does that.
Yeah, like Nate's like a little bit of a nerdy kid, so he's really into science, and he loves social studies too. So he's always into like building Legos. He plays Minecraft, so he's builds stuff on there. And he loves to show me his creations and why he made it, how it works, you know. And like Lacey, on the other hand, she's really into gymnastics these days. Like I don't take her to gymnastics, but she will go online and watch people do it on YouTube and will teach herself how to do it. So she, like when she first started, she couldn't do a cartwheel. She couldn't do like a bridge or a back bend. Now she's cartwheeling all over the place, doing back bends and all these things. And she taught herself this. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Like kids don't realize like the pressures of things. Like if they want it, they're going to go for it and they're going to do it.
Yep.
Without, you know, hesitation or anything like that.
And I like being able to teach them things that like maybe I wished I would have known when I was their age, or things that I know will benefit them. Like, especially like homeschooling, it really like gives me a little bit of an edge, like, and more control over their education, because I'm able to teach them things that, you know, a school might not necessarily teach them, but they're like more life skills, you know. I love that they're always willing to learn too.
Yeah. And I think, you know, teaching them common sense, because, you know, this day and age, not many people have common sense. So
I also think that sometimes common sense can't be taught. I think it's like just something that some people either have or they don't have.
Well, that's one of my famous lines with my kid is use your brain, you know.
Yeah, there are things that you can do to get them thinking for themselves, so they don't have to be told like, you know, think this way or think about this way. No, like you tell them, like figure out the answer and just let them come up with it on their own, however they think.
Yeah, I think that really applies to like school too.
Yeah. Well, okay, so one thing that I really dislike are when things take forever to get done, and I'm talking more like about chores and homework, for example. And on top of it, like they're having meltdowns throughout the whole thing. Like, for example, like my daughter, she's in 3rd grade, and if she doesn't understand something on the first go around, she's already like discouraged and she doesn't want to like do it anymore, and she'll have a meltdown. And I'm like, well, you can't pick everything up the first time around. Sometimes you need to go over it a couple times. Or like I'll give her a worksheet or a homework assignment and she'll take like hours and hours and hours to do it. I can't stand that.
Yeah, I have the same pet peeve, because not so much with Lacey, because she's in kindergarten, so like she's supposed to be in 1st grade, but you know, due to COVID and all that, we held her back so she can learn. But now she's at like the top of her class, so everything's just so easy for her. But for Nate, he's the youngest in his class. He's only 8 years old, and he's going to be finishing 3rd grade this year, so going into 4th grade. And it's been a very hard year, a lot of struggles with him in every single subject. And still to this day, when they get off the bus, I like to give them like an hour before they start doing their homework, you know, so they can unwind and, you know, go play a video game when you've been at school all day, you know. So, but when I say it's homework time, it's homework time. And there's always a pout, a stomping of the feet. I don't want to do the homework. And I'm like, Nate, this is every single day. It's not going to change. It's not going to get easier either. So let's just get it done. And if I don't like hover over him and while he's doing his work, he'll just sit there and stare at the page. And I'm like, okay, what number are we on? Did we finish the page? He gets all like
yeah.
nervous.
No, maybe, I mean, our kids are really similar in age. Maybe it's just a phase they're going through. I hope it is,
I
because
hope so.
my daughter does the same thing. Like, for example, she just took her aptitude test, right, to finish third grade, to see where she stands. And she, like, it was, I opted for the untimed one because I know that she doesn't do well under pressure.
Yeah.
So that way she can take her time doing it. But we got to like this part where like she's like, Mom, I never learned this. You never taught me this. And I'm like, relax, take a breather. I was like, you'll get it. You'll get through it. It's okay. And if we didn't learn it, guess what? You can start learning it as soon as we're done here. Like, or like she got stressed out about her math assignment because it was like division, and I was telling her, go try and help her out, and I'm like, well, you just need to count and like count by threes. And she's like, I don't know how to count by threes. And I'm like, calm down. Like, she gets so like that's out of shape about stuff. Yeah. And it turns out she scored so high in everything. She scored 90th, over 90th percentile than all the other kids, and some things like 97% better than all the other kids in her grade. And I'm like, you're stressing for no reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, like Nate's, it's more of a struggle. He's like, he doesn't just like get it, you know. Like Lacey's very smart. She gets it. She knows a lot for her age. But Nate, he has to work for every single grade that he gets. And if he doesn't, he's gonna fail. You know, he's like that type of kid. But he'll have breakdowns and he will just start hysterical crying. And I'm like, why are you crying? Stop playing the victim. That's another pet peeve. Playing the victim all the time. Like, why do you look like somebody pissed in your Cheerios, or they punched you in the face? Like, you're not a victim. Stop acting like one. Get over it. You're 8 years old. There's no reason to be crying over homework. I told you it's not going anywhere, so get over it.
Yeah, my daughter plays the victim sometimes too, because she's like, she'll be like, you'll love Nikki more than me. And I'm like, I do not. Like, I love you guys all the same. I don't know why you think that, but like, yeah, whenever like something happens that maybe Nikki got to do but she didn't, like, she always like resorts to that. And I'm like, you can't think like that. Like, we don't love you guys more than one another, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know like what it is. Like I feel like our kids say the same things and do the same things. Maybe it's just a kid phase. It's difficult on me though, and I'm sure on you too, because you just feel guilty about the things that
I was just gonna say the same thing. It makes you feel guilty when they say things like that. Like, you love him more than me, you know? It makes you think like, what am I doing that makes her think that way, you know? But I don't know. I think that I don't know, especially for her, like, she's a perfectionist. She wants everything done perfectly in a certain way, and if it's not done that way, like, she freaks out. And you're like, relax. Nothing, try to tell her all the time, like, nothing in life is going to be perfect. Everything has flaws. Nothing is perfect. Perfection doesn't exist in this life, so you have to get over that. It's better you learn that now, because it's not going to get any easier.
Yeah, no, I think like Nate has a little bit of like a confidence issue. So and also the same, like you said, you opted out of the time test. Like, if he's told that there's a time limit, that puts extra stress and pressure on him, and it like shuts down. He can't. I think that's hard on. I'm still trying to figure him out. Maybe like it is a phase. I hope it is, but like some of the things that he does, I'm just like, I don't even know what to say, how to react.
Well, I also think that hormones are beginning to take their effect, especially on my daughter. I already noticed it, like the meltdowns and like the complete like meltdowns. And I'm like, oh, that's got to be some hormonal thing going on, because it hasn't always been that way. Like now all of a sudden we're having like a lot of meltdowns again. And
Yeah.
I remember when I was like in 6th grade or something like that. I remember having all these crazy meltdowns and my mom was like, what the hell's wrong with you? And like, it's just emotions, it's hormones, it's everything, you know?
Yeah. But you know, I guess I do, I like that they still need our help, and as much as it pains me with the homework and stuff like that, because like that really, I really can get on my nerves, and I'm like, you know, Nate's doing time telling right now,
Mm-hmm.
like on a clock, you know, and
Yeah. Julie's already learned all that. Yep.
yeah, it's not just 3 o'clock, it'd be like 3:02 or
Right.
3 or whatever, you know. And I'll sit there and I'm like, okay, so they're asking you to say it's a half hour before 3 o'clock. So what time is it? And I'm like, Nate, look at the clock, figure it out. And then like after like the 10th time, he still doesn't know. And I'm like, then I start to get mad. I'm like, I don't understand why you don't know it. Look, 5, 10, go by the numbers. Like,
I
come.
know. I homeschool, so I completely get your frustration because you can like multiply that by 10 because now I'm teaching it. They
Yeah.
don't know it at all. I'm the teacher. At least you have the teacher in school teaching it. So I have to like always when I get to that point, I just like, okay, we're taking a break and I need to like just go outside and just breathe some oxygen and come back and reapproach it. And sometimes, you know, they just need you to say it in a little bit of a different way because I know that I can get worked up that way too. Like to us, it's like so easy, like it's common sense. Why don't you get it? But then I realize that they've never learned this stuff before. So we have to approach it in a way like basically talking for dummies. You know what I mean? Like if we're learning something, we would read the book for dummies. That's kind of like how we have to approach it. So I realized that like first they have to know what half means on the clock in order to understand where the half is. So like we'll start there. Like you have to take a step back. If they're not understanding it, take one step back and go back to the beginning until they get that part again. Same thing. Julie was having a little bit of trouble with that too. Like, what's a quarter past? And I'm like, well, you have to break the clock into quarters. Well, what's a quarter? Well, okay, now we have to go back to fractions, you know? So,
well, you know, some people still don't understand that because Rob was getting cold cuts the other day, and this woman like totally drove him nuts. And he was like, I want 3/4 of a pound. And she was like, what? And he's like, 3/4. So like how many quarters are in a dollar? Okay, there's 4. So I want 3. So how much is that? 75 cents. So I want 0.75 on the scale, you know?
yeah.
So,
No, yeah. I think that if they're young, especially like today, yeah, with the Common Core, they don't teach this stuff anymore. Like the Common Core is the least from common that you can get. Like you would think Common Core, like they're teaching common sense, but no, it's not. Yeah. It's not like that at all. Like I remember I went to this just happened the other day. I think I went to the drive-through at Dunkin' Donuts. And my total was like 12 and change, right? So I gave her 22 and the correct change. So she'd give me back a $10 bill. And she's like, you gave me way too much money. And I'm like, I know I did. But I was like, I'm giving you that amount so you can give me a $10 bill back. And she was so confused. Like I just blew her mind. And when she typed it in the computer, she's like, $10. Like, oh, you want $10? I'm like, yeah.
It's funny you brought that up because me and Rob were just talking about that. And it's like they look at you like, wait, what? I don't
they
know.
Look at you like you're stupid, but you're thinking like, wow, how did this person graduate?
They're like, wait, $10. $10. What? I don't understand. How did that happen?
Yeah. Or like if you I mean, I've been a cashier my whole life. I know how to correct a draw in an instant. I know how to give back change if I typed it in wrong, you know, but not everybody does. Like I gave this lady $50 or something like that, and my total was 20, it's like say 25 and change, right? and she typed in like $30 instead of $50. She freaked out. And I'm like, it's no big deal. You just have to give me whatever the register's telling you to give me plus 20. Like, it's really not big of a deal,
Not
you know?
that big of a deal.
She has to go and call her manager over. And I was just like thinking in my head, like, I mean, it was like, do what you got to do to feel comfortable. But I was like, I'm telling you, like, this is what you got to do.
These are the things that I'm trying to teach my kids. This is like common sense. Like, you're going to need this in life.
This is what I love about homeschooling. Like, I have the opportunity to teach my kids things in this manner, in a way that they're actually going to use it, not crap that they're probably never going to use a day in their life. Like, who needs to know what X over Z equals Y plus 10 plus, you know, like, who really needs to know? Like, I've never used that math in my life, unless you want to be a rocket scientist, which in that case, go for it. But how many of our kids are actually going to become rocket scientists?
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's why I liked private school, because they don't teach the Common Core. They do their own math and stuff like that. And like, I tell the kids all the time, listen, you're going to need to learn how to add, subtract, divide, multiply, and you're also going to need to know percentages. Working in retail for so long, like, it used to drive me crazy when people would come up and say, how much is this? And I'm like, okay, it's 50% off. Okay, well, how much is it? I'm like, really?
I know. I'm so good at doing percentages because of retail. Like, I'm telling you, somebody tells me, like, what's 10% off? Well, what's 10%? Like, that's the easiest thing to figure out.
Exactly.
Or like, if it's 30% off, it's just 10% times 3, right? So if you can figure out what the 10% price is, you just add that up 3 times or multiply it by 3, you got the 30% off. Like, people don't realize how easy it is. I can literally do this math in my head. I can just guesstimate and do it.
But like, the other day, Nate was like, ooh, look at that. It's buy one, get one free. And I said, yeah, that's 50% off. He's like, wait, what?
Not necessarily, because you have to buy 2 of them. If it was 50% off, you can get half the price for one. I don't always like the buy one, get one free, because they're like, they try to trick you, because you have to pay full price. You have to get 2 of them. That's their thing. You know what I mean? So one of the good things about that I love when my kids do is when they actually all get along and play together. Like, that is just, it's like really heartwarming to actually see them getting along and playing together. Or like family events that actually go well. Like, we like to go on hikes. That usually goes well for us because, you know, they're getting their energy out. They're doing something they like. They're being outdoors. It's not like confined to a restaurant where I have everyone looking at me. Like, if they want to run around, it's fine. So like, we enjoy going on hikes together. Movie nights. We really enjoy movie nights. We'll just make a big pot of popcorn and just sit on the bed and watch movies, things like that. Those are the times that like make parenting like really, really fun and worthwhile.
Yeah, I agree with that. During the pandemic, you know, the only thing we could do was be outdoors and go hiking and stuff like that. So we did a lot of that, and the kids love to be outside and they love to explore. And Nate actually has a notebook that he writes down all the birds that he sees and describes them. So I think that's really cute. And every Sunday is family day for us. That's Rob's only day off. So we always try to do something for the kids, and then we'll do something like a little more adultish, I guess. I mean, how much adulting can you do with kids? But like, we'll take them to the movies. We just saw the Tom and Jerry movie, which I recommend you go seeing because it was so cute. And they loved it because it was like the first time we had been to the movies in over a year, because they just finally opened. We'll take them to like the trampoline park or just a regular park, you know. Just a lot of cons that come with parenting and having children. And we also discussed our pros. I do think the pros outweigh the cons, though, because without our kids, we wouldn't be mothers, we wouldn't be fathers. And there are a lot of people out there that wish that they could have kids and can't. So we are fortunate enough to have 2 children of my own. You have 3 children, and they're beautiful and they're healthy and they love us unconditionally. And they show us love every single day.
Yeah, and like we said before, we're not complaining. We're just trying to be relatable. I mean, a lot of these things that we're talking about, I 100% guarantee every single parent out there goes through. It's just things that people don't really want to talk about all that much. So we're just bringing it to the surface like, hey, you feel that way, you go through this, we go through it too. We're just like you guys are. And like Jackie said, the pros definitely outweigh the cons. Absolutely. It's just nice to have somebody that relates to you and you can talk to these things about and get them off your chest, because parenting is hard. It's not always cupcakes and roses. You go through a lot of hard things too.
Definitely, so you are not alone. And your feelings are validated, and don't feel bad if you're feeling guilty or upset about any decisions that you've made as a parent, because we all make mistakes, but your kids love you no matter what you do, no matter how you are. In the long run, in the end, you're their mother, their only mother. You're their only father, so they're gonna love you unconditionally no matter what. And if any of you candid mamas have any of your own experiences that you'd like to share, or any advice that you would like to give, or just any stories, we'd love to hear some of your funny stories maybe, or stressful stories that you have. Shoot us a comment on Instagram at candid.motherhood or Facebook. And we hope you guys have a good night and you enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much for listening to Candid Motherhood Podcast.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please subscribe, share, and rate our podcast.
If you have any ideas for future episodes or want to learn more about us, please follow us on Facebook and Instagram at candid.motherhood and on Twitter at @cmotherhood.
We appreciate your love and support. Until next time, thank you, Candid Mamas.